What's going on, everyone? Chris back with another video. Today, September 3rd, Google has finally launched the official update to Android 10. So I've been running the Q beta pretty much ever since it launched back with the developer preview way back when. And so this update for me hasn't been too much of an update. I've read somewhere from 5 to 40 megs is the official update if you're already on Q beta. So just keep that in mind, not a big deal. I might reset and reflash maybe the OTA or factory images on this just to bypass any sort of issues. We're going to take a look at some of the features and some things to expect when you update your device or come to a new Android device that runs Android 10. So first, right off the bat, here is the actual Easter egg, which you can move these numbers around. You get a little bit of a vibration tactile feedback when you're moving everything around. So one thing that we do get now is actually the dark theme. You can actually go into display and then toggle dark theme on or off. And this is actually AMOLED. It's not any sort of dark gray mode or anything like that. So that is nice to see. That'll apply your dark theme to your settings. It may apply the dark theme to your Google Now feed off to the left and some other apps potentially as well. So if we go back, another major thing, as you just saw there, is the new gestures that are now implemented. You can still use the pie gestures if you wanted to. So if we go to System Settings and go down to System and then Gestures, you have the option to toggle between each of these. So right now I've been using the gesture navigation full screen. It has improved, but it is still a little funky compared to, let's say, Oxygen OS, EMUI, MIUI. Those gestures I prefer much more than what Google's implemented here. So you can still use your 2-button gestures, or you can actually go to 3 buttons if you want. I'm using my Pixel 3a XL. So to go over the gestures a little bit, if you swipe up, you can go to your Recents app, just like that. Swipe up and hold, and then you have your Recents there. So you can also then swipe to the left like such and go between all of your apps. Now, before, it used to just swipe between your last used app and then the current app that you use, but now you can actually keep swiping through every single app at the moment that you have open in your Recents menu. So that is a good plus right there. Makes it very convenient to just keep switching through. You can also always swipe up and then bring up those. Next is actually how you go back. So that's something that's kind of interesting. So let's say you're in Google Chrome, right? And if you want to go back, or if you're in an app that supports layers into the app, you would swipe from either the right or the left-hand side, and by doing so, that will take you back, just like what we just saw there. Now, this does cause issues in terms of apps that have hamburger menus, such as the Play Store, any of the Google first-party apps, to where when you swiped in normally, you would be able to get the hamburger menu to come up. So now you kind of have to like swipe at an angle. I found that always opens the hamburger menu consistently and reliably. Sometimes, I don't know, it's kind of weird. They are implementing kind of like a padding, basically where the hamburger menu will still swipe in, even a certain part of the screen, but we'll see there. Next is how notifications are handled. So you have access to now being able to alert or silent notifications just like this, or you can actually go into the settings and go into notifications kind of more in detail. So if you want to turn off notifications as specific aspects of the app, you can do that here as well. That's something that never really was, it was either on or off. So that's pretty cool. Now you're wondering with these new gestures how to activate the Google Assistant. Well, now what we have is little these little kind of rounded corners that you swipe in from the corner to activate Google Assistant now. It's no longer long pressing, but if you're using the traditional 3 buttons or the pie gestures, then you can still long press on those buttons just fine to activate it. So that's not a problem at all. Something else that has come, what I've really enjoyed, which most people won't either use or utilize or appreciate, one being that the Pixel line now supports dual SIM, dual standby. So I currently have T-Mobile SIM and also a Google Fi SIM, eSIM essentially. And so you can see here's our 2 SIM cards. So you have our T-Mobile SIM, and then if we go down to here, you can prioritize call preference if you want Google Fi, T-Mobile, or whatever other carrier you're using. So Android Q now brings that support to Pixel devices, which is fantastic. Secondly is on Android Q, when you're connected to Wi-Fi, it does randomize your MAC address, so you're more secure when you're browsing networks publicly, so it keeps you safe in that sense as well. You do still have digital well-being. I've kept this off basically. There's really no point for me using it, but I haven't really noticed any sort of difference in terms of performance or much else in that regard. But if we take a look at digital well-being, so some new digital well-being controls in terms of focus mode, so that way you can actually turn off access to certain apps that you find distracting, so that way it helps you focus more, which is good. But if you want to turn that off, you can. You now have parental controls as well, so of kids you can actually turn off access to certain apps and things like that. Something that has been revamped on Android 10 is the share menu. This is something that has been pretty archaic for Android and has definitely been needing an update. So basically when we click share, it is much faster to load contacts, different apps and capabilities and other ways that you can share content. So whether it be a web page, whether it be a location, an app here like we just saw, it gives a lot more flexibility on how you can share. Next is how permissions are handled. So if we go into our apps and notifications permissions manager, you're able to now basically for Android Q allow access for apps to only access certain parts such as the camera, your location, only when the app is open. So if we open the camera, for example, and then we go over to settings, we can see save location. This notification will come up if, let's say, you haven't granted permission. So when an app tries to access a certain part of, let's say, the hardware on your phone, such as internal storage, contacts, location, for this example, you can see only allow when it's using the app, deny, and don't ask again. So you can always allow permission for an app to access, let's say, location all the time, or you can allow it to only access when you have the app open. So that's definitely more private conscious in terms of, let's say, Facebook or any other app that wants to, like, let's say, track your location. It's going to be much more private, so that way when you don't have the app open, it doesn't have access to your location in that sense. That's really nice to see. There's a lot of under the hood fixes and improvements for Android Q. So now Google technically has the capability of pushing security patch updates via the Google Play Store. There's no longer need to install an OTA update to install a security patch, which is nice. There's been improvements for adaptive battery that you will see improvements for your battery life over time as it learns your usage and things like that. Battery life for me has been actually fantastic for Android Q beta even. I expect it to be a little bit more improved even now with that it's stable. I've been getting consistent with the Q beta for my Pixel quite a lot of screen on time, to be honest, and it gets me solid through a whole days of use. You can expect performance just to still be smooth. Android 10 is definitely more kind of security, privacy focused, more kind of under the hood changes more so than anything outward facing, aside from the gestures and things like that. We do have now, if you go into system, go into your developer options, the capability of setting up an accent color if you wanted to, so you can change that. So maybe this is Google's first step to allowing customization in terms of the whole operating system and the UI, so that's nice. So we'll see how that changes in the future. Maybe we'll see that or not. We do have new option for bubbles here. So when developers integrate support for bubbles, you'll basically get floating head actions such as the Google Dialer, Facebook Messenger. If you use any of those, it's basically a Google little bubble that floats around on your screen that you can move around, interact with, and things like that. There is now a capability for those that have hearing impairments and other accessibility issues. So you are able now to have live caption. So any sort of video that has audio that's playing, such as voice, let's say a podcast, any sort of like YouTube video, a video that's taken from your phone that you record, it'll be able to transcribe whatever words are being spoken. So that way, if you have a hearing impairment, you can actually read the words regardless of what type of content you're playing, whether it be a podcast. You're going to be able to read the podcast transcriptions that way, which is super awesome. Next is you also have Smart Reply. I don't have anything to show right now in terms of replying, but text messages and other apps that will be bringing that integration, you'll be able to respond via Smart Reply. So let's say someone asks where you want to eat or where are you, it'll give an option for like your location, or smartly give you options on how you want to respond to those messages without you having to type it in. And it's faster, it's easy. It may not be exactly what you want, but you can still type in whatever message that you want as well. So Android 10, there's no more dessert names, unfortunately, officially to the public. So Android Pie was the last one, but now Android 10 is here, officially launched on all Pixel devices. Essential Phone, OnePlus launched their beta 1 for Android 10 as well. I think Xiaomi Redmi K20 or something like that launched day 1 Android 10. So we hope to see much better support for rollout of updates from OEMs. Hopefully Android 10 is the beginning of all of that. If you guys have any questions regarding Android 10, let me know down in the comments below. If you want to see a video on how to install it on the OnePlus 7 Pro with the Stable 1 or the Essential Phone, let me know. I can maybe cook one up here real quick for you all and help you all out. That's what I'm here for. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.